One lunch, one text, and a carefully laid trap could have destroyed everything Alex held dear. Betrayed by the people he trusted most, filmed, manipulated, and pushed to the edge, he had no idea that a mysterious stranger was watching from the shadows, ready to tip the scales. In a world of lies, hidden agendas, and unexpected allies, one message can change the course of your life forever. But the question remains, who can you trust? Alex sat at the long wooden table in his in-laws' dining room, the scent of freshly cooked biryani and roasted chicken drifting through the air. The room was warm, filled with laughter, chatter, and the clinking of cutlery. His wife, Issei, laughed with her mother, tilting her head back in a way that made Alex wonder if she was exaggerating one of her dramatic stories again. Her father poured him a glass of water with a warm smile, insisting he eat more. Everything seemed normal, inviting, and comforting. But then his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out casually, expecting a work email or a message from a friend, but what appeared on the screen froze him in place. It was from an unknown number and read, "Asterisk, don't react. They're recording you." Asterisk. Alex's pulse jumped. His eyes flicked up across the room. Imran, Essay's brother, was holding his phone toward Alex, pretending to scroll, but filming him. He forced himself to chew slowly, forcing his face into a neutral mask, pretending nothing was amiss. His mind raced. Recording him? Why? What had he done that would need to be twisted against him? The memory of last week's argument with Essay flared painfully. She had accused him of not being serious about their marriage. They had patched things up, or so he thought. Could this be her idea of some trap? He smiled politely at his father-in-law and asked for more rice, all while trying to steady his growing suspicion. His phone buzzed again. The new message read, "Asterisk, don't look at me. Just excuse yourself and call this number." Asterisk. Asterisk, this wasn't just a prank. Asterisk. Sweat pricked at his palms. Whoever was texting him knew exactly what was happening at this table. He needed to think fast. Excusing himself, he pushed back a chair, mumbled something about needing the restroom, and slipped out of the room. Essay glanced up, but returned quickly to her conversation with her mother. As soon as he was out of sight, he dialed the number. A steady, calm voice answered, instructing him carefully. His in-laws were trying to provoke him into saying something that could be used against him. He was to remain calm, smile, and agree with everything, no matter what. Alex asked who they were, but the voice refused to answer. "You'll understand later. Just trust me," they said before hanging up. Alex's head spun. A friend? A stranger? Someone in the family disagreed with Essay's plan? Whoever it was, they had saved him from a disaster he hadn't even seen coming. Returning to the table, Alex noticed the tension was sharper now. Imran's phone angle had become more obvious. Essay leaned in with a light tone, aiming straight at a sore spot. "So, do you still think I spent too much money?" Alex remembered the warning and smiled. "No, Essay, I think you're perfect." Her smile faltered briefly. Imran hesitated with his thumb over the screen. Their trap had failed. Essay tried again, this time mentioning Alex's long nights at work, hoping to provoke defensiveness. But Alex remained calm, cheerful, and evasive. It was like a chess game, dodging every bait, anticipating each move. The lunch ended awkwardly. His in-laws seemed confused, perhaps disappointed, by his unusually cooperative behavior. Outside the house, his phone buzzed once more. Asterisk, well done. You passed. Asterisk. The number was unreachable when he tried to respond. That night, Alex noticed Essay scrolling through her phone with a tight jaw. When he asked if she was okay, she muttered, "Never mind," and went to bed early. Alex knew then that someone had ruined her plan. 2 days later, a mutual friend revealed that Essay and Imran had been planning to make him look abusive during lunch so she could leverage it in a divorce. But Alex's calm demeanor had frustrated them. Alex felt a mix of relief and gratitude for the anonymous warning. He quietly began preparing, gathering evidence of financial mismanagement, flirtatious online messages, and even the plans Essay had discussed with Imran. A month later, Alex filed for divorce. In court, the evidence of S.A.'s schemes dismantled their confidence. The smug expressions they wore throughout the lunch vanished completely. S.A.'s plan had spectacularly backfired, exposing her actions rather than discrediting him. Even now, Alex couldn't stop thinking about that mysterious text, the silent warning that had changed everything. He never discovered who had sent it. Perhaps a cousin who never liked S.A., or a friend of Imran's who thought their scheme cruel. Whoever it was, they had altered the course of his life with a single message. The sense of relief mixed with unease lingered. Alex understood that in the web of betrayal, a single ally, hidden in the shadows, could tip the balance, yet the world around him remained unpredictable and dangerous. Trust could be a weapon and a shield all at once, and Alex felt the faint pulse of anticipation that perhaps the game had only just begun. As he lay awake, contemplating the fragile layers of trust and deception in his marriage, a chill ran through him. One message had saved him, but in a world full of schemers, the next move could always come from the least expected corner. And Alex realized that every smile, every conversation, every glance could hide a hidden trap. Alex woke to the quiet hum of early morning, the soft sunlight slipping through the curtains, revealing the stillness of his apartment. The air carried a faint tension, one that clung to him like a shadow. He had crossed a line in preparation, gathering evidence, piecing together the fragile puzzle of S.A.'s schemes, yet the relief of having outmaneuvered her mingled uneasily with a persistent fear of what could still be lurking. He poured himself coffee, staring at the photographs, screenshots, and recordings laid out across the table. Each image, each message was a silent witness to deception and the thought that this might not be over gnawed at him. Days passed, and the court proceedings approached with a rhythm that made his stomach churn. S.A. maintained her composed, almost innocent facade, her laughter rehearsed, her words carefully chosen. But Alex noticed the flickers, the hesitation in her eyes when she thought no one was watching, the way her hand trembled slightly as she held her phone. He had become a quiet observer in his own life, cataloging every subtle clue, every gesture that might betray the real story beneath her carefully constructed surface. Then came a first court day. Alex walked into the building feeling the weight of anticipation pressing down on him. The room was sterile, the walls a pale, uninspiring color. Yet Alex felt the electric tension that always seemed to precede confrontation. S.A. sat across from him, her posture immaculate, a controlled smile on her face. Imran hovered behind her, smug confidence in his eyes, convinced of his victory before it had even begun. Alex's lawyer began with the evidence. Financial statements, messages, and recordings, all meticulously arranged to illustrate S.A.'s attempts to manipulate and entrap him. As each piece of information was presented, Alex watched the expressions on their faces shift. Confusion first, disbelief next, and then a dawning realization that the plan they had relied on to shame him in public had utterly collapsed. The room was silent at times, the only sound the measured cadence of the judge's questions, the tapping of fingers, the occasional shuffle of papers. Alex felt a strange exhilaration mingled with his nervousness. He had anticipated the emotional roller coaster, yet seeing it unfold in real time had a visceral effect. He glanced at S.A., her eyes flicking to his for a brief moment, a flash of fear passing through them before she returned to her composed mask. Outside the court, Alex found himself walking aimlessly through the city streets, the tension of the morning dissolving into a strange clarity. He had won this battle, yet the war within him was far from over. Questions swirled. Was it over, or had someone else been maneuvering behind the scenes all along? The thought of the anonymous text that had saved him lingered. Whoever had sent it had seen the danger before he had. They had intervened when the stakes were highest, yet remained a shadow in his life, unseen, unknown. Days turned into weeks, and the final verdict approached. Alex's emotions became a tangled knot of anticipation, fear, and relief. He found himself reflecting on S.A.'s true nature, the layers of charm and manipulation, and how easily someone's intentions could mask their reality. Yet within that reflection was also a recognition of his vulnerability, the parts of him that had been blind, trusting, hoping for the best, even when signs suggested otherwise. Then came the verdict day. The courtroom was crowded, a mix of family, friends, and strangers drawn by curiosity or obligation. The judge's voice carried across the room, deliberate, measured, final. Every word seemed to echo in Alex's mind as the judgment unfolded in his favor. S.A.'s plan had unraveled completely. The evidence he had gathered, the warnings he had heeded, all converged into a moment of undeniable truth. The smug confidence in her eyes evaporated, replaced by a tense rigidity, the unspoken acknowledgement that the game had been lost. Yet as he stepped out of the courthouse, relief mingled with a subtle unease. The shadow of the unknown remained, the anonymous figure who had intervened at the lunch table, the reminder that in a world so full of schemes and hidden agendas, control was always an illusion. Alex's heart still beat with a careful rhythm, awareness heightened, trust measured and deliberate. He had won the battle, but the landscape of human intentions was vast and unpredictable, and he could not allow himself to forget the lesson he had learned. Weeks later, in the quiet of his apartment, Alex received a message on his phone. No number, no identifier, only a single line. Well played. Stay alert. A chill ran through him, a reminder that even victories were not always absolute. The presence of the unseen, the shadow of the unknown, lingered. Alex read the message, a sense of gratitude mingling with apprehension. The game was far from over, and the forces at work in his life were still shifting, unseen, unpredictable. In the days that followed, Alex approached life with new vigilance, balancing the thrill of victory with a careful attention to potential dangers. He built walls around his trust, but also allowed himself moments of genuine connection, understanding that to live without fear was impossible, yet to surrender entirely would be equally dangerous. The lessons from the past month had transformed him, sharpening his perception, deepening his understanding of human nature, and teaching him that even in betrayal, there could be unexpected allies, invisible hands guiding him through perilous paths. As night fell, Alex stood by his window, gazing at the city lights below, reflecting on the intricate web of deceit, trust, and intervention that had led him here. The thrill of survival mingled with the faint pulse of uncertainty. Whoever had saved him had altered the course of his life forever, yet their identity remained a mystery. The tension, the unresolved questions, and the hidden eyes that watched him from afar promised that life would continue to test his instincts, patience, and courage. Alex knew that he had won this battle, yet he also understood that the game of life was endless, and the shadows of the unknown would always wait, patient and calculating for the next move. And somewhere beyond the reach of his sight, the figure who had intervened, the guardian of his fate, remained silent, observing, ensuring that the balance between danger and survival was maintained. The suspense of that unknown presence lingered, a reminder that life was never fully in one's control, and that sometimes the most powerful forces were those hidden, waiting, and unseen. Weeks after the court's verdict, Alex sat alone in his apartment, the city lights casting patterns across the floor. The silence was both comforting and haunting. He had won, exposed the schemes, and reclaimed control over his life, yet the memory of that anonymous text, the quiet warning at the lunch table, lingered like a shadow. He thought of S.A., her carefully constructed mask shattered, the smug confidence replaced by unease. He thought of Imran, caught in the web of their planning, helpless against the truth. And he thought of the stranger who had intervened, someone who had seen the danger before he did and tipped the scales in his favor. Alex realized then that life was a delicate balance of trust and vigilance, love and betrayal, hope and fear. He had learned to read between the lines, to sense the unseen, and to protect himself without surrendering entirely to suspicion. And yet, a part of him couldn't stop wondering who had truly saved him and why. His phone buzzed softly. A message appeared. Remember what you learned. Stay aware. No number, No signature, just words that carried both reassurance and warning. Alex smiled faintly, a mix of gratitude and unease washing over him. He knew that victory was only temporary, that life would always present challenges beyond what he could foresee. But he also knew he had grown stronger, sharper, and wiser. As he placed the phone down and leaned back, Alex allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. He could feel the weight of what had happened, the lessons learned, and the subtle thrill of survival. Somewhere, in the shadows of the unknown, the figure who had changed his fate watched silently, a guardian or perhaps a reminder that life was never fully predictable. Alex closed his eyes and let out a slow breath. He had survived, he had triumphed, and yet the story wasn't truly over. The world still held secrets, dangers, and unexpected allies. And somewhere, beyond the reach of his sight, the next move was always waiting, patient, calculating, and unseen. The suspense lingered, not as fear, but as awareness, a quiet pulse that reminded Alex that life was a game of perception, vigilance, and courage. And he was ready for whatever came next.